Who wouldn't like to have supernatural results? But does that sound a little outrageous and a little unrealistic? Because how often do we apply ourselves in a situation, it just seems like hard work and it's dry and we don't necessarily see the result? But what if we had a mental shift? We had a real revelation that when we're applying ourselves, that actually it's God's empowerment. God not just desires, but is empowering us to have those results. And in fact, God's the one responsible for the results. Let me explain what I mean. So Paul, who was brutally honest about his failures and his shortcomings, his inabilities, but that same Paul was also profoundly confident in both God's mercy and God's empowerment. And Paul said it this way. He said, "But I worked harder than anyone else." But it really wasn't me working. It was God's grace working through me. In other words, he understood that as he applied himself, God's grace was what was truly at work. God's grace, that supernatural extra, the favor, God's empowerment, everything that's necessary for a successful outcome is all part of God's grace that's at work when we just apply ourselves. That when we apply ourselves both to the situation and we apply our faith. And again, understanding that while we love to see the results, we like that encouragement of seeing it, that even when we don't, that God himself is the one who's responsible for those results. That we just apply ourselves, we allow God's grace to work through us, and he's the one that's responsible for the results. And it's maintaining that faith when we don't see them. It's changing that focus from looking for the outcomes to just looking at better ways to apply ourselves and leaving that responsibility on God. And God is so amazing, so generous. So think about it. We apply ourselves. It's God's grace working through us. God takes the responsibility for the outcomes. And then when we're reunited with him, he rewards us for the things that we did in the Spirit, but it was his empowerment that did it, and he's the one that produced the results. And that's just the generosity of our God, that he desires for us to be active participants in what he's doing, and he desires for us to apply ourselves to situations and challenges, trusting in his empowerment, trusting in his leading, in his that he would produce the result. It would change our perspective. And it's hard to maintain that because, again, we do like that encouragement of seeing the results. It takes real strength and tenacity to stay the course when we're not seeing those results. But here's the challenge. What's the situation that each one of us can apply ourselves to in our life at this moment? What's that situation, that challenge that we see in whatever context, ministry, business, family, whatever it may be? What's that situation and challenge where we can simply approach it? Okay, God, I'm going to apply myself and I'm going to apply my faith and watch you work. What's that situation we can find where we say, okay, God, I'm going to apply myself like Paul did, and I expect your grace to be what's actually working. And I expect you to produce the results. And it would be great if you could let me see the results once in a while to maintain my encouragement and my faith. And the recognition that we get rewarded when we're reunited with him. The confidence that when we're moving forward, we're moving in alignment with God's will and his direction, that he desires to empower us. But don't let that alignment be a hang-up. That concern about, well, how do I know if I'm in alignment? But as we apply ourselves, as we see the challenge, as we see the situation, recognize that as an invitation from God. And just trust that as you move forward, that the Holy Spirit will continue to refine that alignment, bringing us closer and closer into alignment with God's perfect will in that situation. What could we see happen? So that's my challenge, is what's the situation? What's the challenge that you see before you where you can put it to the test and just say, okay, God, I'm applying myself. I'm applying my faith. I'm expecting your grace to be at work, and I'm expecting you to produce the results. Send us a message. Let us know what you think.